Before a tree is planted in Canada, a tree must first be cut down. A piece of paper is signed, a road is carved into the bush. Before a tree can be planted, the logging debris must be burned. Seedlings are sprayed with pesticides, wrapped in plastic, packed into non-recyclable wax-coated boxes, and then transported across the country in refrigerated trucks. And of course, before any tree is planted in Canada, there must be a workforce prepared to plant them. This is that story.
Well, I don't mind it. Doesn't bother me. No, I don't mind it. Doesn't bother me. I get in the truck when the sun comes up by my own free will and my own damn luck. And I break my back for a buck and I bust my knees like a beggar for a coin in the cup. And they say, hold on, hurry up. I climb to the top and I crawl down the muck. It's the same old story. It's the same old story.
You get paid a piece rate. That means you get paid per tree. Prices range from as low as 10 cents to as high as 35 cents per tree. The average worker will typically plant anywhere between 1,000 to 4,000 trees in a day.
No, I don't mind it. Doesn't bother me. 'Cause I have been in a big old burn where nothing grows and no one learns. And the government comes with great concern to plant lodgepole pine where you can't grow fir. The tamarack dries up, the pine goes to seed, and the beetle burrows in the young pine tree. It's the same old story. It's the same old story.
This is a cut block. That's where wood comes from. Sometimes they look like this, and other times they look like this. This is your shovel, these are your bags, this is where you sleep, and this is how you get to work.
Doesn't bother me. 'Cause I have been the disease and the mange on the side of a hill in the Beaufort Range. I seen a cross on the other side, big cedar trees 3 meters wide. I looked at my feet and I seen the bones in the soil outgrown on a limestone. It's the same old story. It's the same old story.
Work is seasonal. That's because trees are best planted in the spring. For most planters, a season lasts 2 to 3 months, but some people do work up to 9 months of the year by traveling to different regions and altitudes across the country.
No, I don't mind it. Doesn't bother me.
Breakfast is served at 6, you hop in the truck at 7, you work 8 to 10 hours a day, and there's only one thing you need to do.
So I started planting after my second year of university, and I kind of first went into it just as thinking it was an iconic summer job to do and didn't really know what else.
I was living on my friend's couch and I was just like kind of floating around doing like landscaping work. I was like 23.
Went to university and then dropped out and then went traveling and I was like $3,000 in debt and I was like, what am I doing with my life? I have no idea. I was just like so lost.
Like I was just lost, man. I was just looking for some direction in life.
I had a cousin who, she was wild and way cooler than me. And she went planting and told me all of these hilarious stories. And it sounded like she was living a lot better than I was.
I was doing a Bachelor of Science. I was in my first year. I was super depressed and I was just kind of lost and confused. And, my parents asked me many times, are you sure this is what you want to do? My mom actually said to me, you know that tree planting is all like sex and drugs and partying. And I was like, yeah, sign me up, because I was 20.
I remember the cook had a really hard time keeping everyone off the kitchen bus because for some reason on party night everyone wanted to go in there and take their clothes off and dance around.
The parties there are great because there's no rules, there's no limitations, there's no parents, right? There's no cops. So they go to all hours of dawn, all freaking night, anything goes.
That's part of the work. So you work super hard and you just let loose.
My name's Shumi, and I've planted 150,000 trees. I sucked at tree planting. and it was hard. I was the kid who skipped PE in high school.
My first day planting, it had snowed the night before, like a solid 5 centimeters. And so we got to the block, we're looking out the window and there's snow everywhere. And they said, yeah, there's too much snow, we can't go plant. And so our first day was canceled, basically,
Learning how to plant a tree is simple, but planting them perfectly while moving quickly and efficiently takes years to master. Basically, you open the hole, you put a tree in it, and then you close the hole. But it's not always that easy. You have to maintain a standard of quality to meet changing contract specifications. This is a plot cord. It's used to measure a 3.9 meter circular section of your land called a plot. These are tree checkers. They will be making sure you've planted your trees properly and with the right spacing. The spacing they want could be any number between 4 to 12 trees in a plot, and it's your job to know how to alter the spacing in order to plant what is required, and to do it consistently throughout your many hectares of workspace. Planting too many or too few trees in a plot is considered a fault. A fault is also any tree that's not planted perfectly. They can't be too shallow, they can't be too deep, not too tight, not too loose. But most importantly, and above all else, every tree must be planted in mineral soil.
That summer after my first planting season, I went hitchhiking from Saskatchewan to Vancouver Island, and I got stuck at a nudist hippie commune. I would say I definitely fell out of the Catholic religion while I was planting. So just the fall after my first planting season, I bought a sweater that said "Smoke Meth and Hail Satan," and that was someone who was in nursing school and super Catholic and very conservative thinking. To do that in the span of 3 months, something happened. Planting.
Thank you so much, brother.
My second year, we had just a lot of crazy things happen.
So I ended up getting frostbite in 3 fingers and was borderline hypothermic.
So we climbed up into this skinny little pine tree or whatever it was, and the moose was butting the bottom of the tree, and he's in the top swaying back and forth, screaming bloody murder.
I was between a mama and its cub, and so she false charged and snapping her jaw.
As she paws me, I feel her rough pad come down on my head, down my cheek, and then slap me in the collarbone and chest.
And I'm looking to my side, and there's just a couple 100-foot cliff into this ravine, and I'm starting to shake.
So we had to stay till 8 o'clock at night, and there was this rainstorm, so the helicopter couldn't get picked us up, and we had to finish all the trees. We're crying in the pouring rain. I hit my first wasp nest, got stung 6 or 7 times on my leg. One guy broke his ankle, had to get escorted out. So I'm super drowsy, have no idea what's going on. I guess someone fainted and another guy got a nosebleed from the CO2 gas, and everyone was getting headaches. And then we got evacuated, and we actually still planted that rest of the day at a different place. And I was are you kidding me? We all just went through this horrible traumatic experience, and we still have to finish planting. But I guess that's planting.
My name's Brent Folkens, and I planted maybe 300,000 trees. It was therapeutic. I think I was harboring a lot of emotional stress and pain within my body, and that physical exertion brought those emotions up and kind of allowed me to work through them. Growing up in a small town, being a gay guy wasn't easy. I was using 3 to 6 grams of cocaine a week and drinking heavily. I'd become so volatile, so toxic that friendships were kind of eroded, and I was alone. And I needed to just be by myself and sit with myself and reflect on myself. And tree planting, you get a lot of time to do that.
To be out alone with your thoughts, planting trees, humbled by a huge bear or a huge moose, thinking that this could kill me at any second, realizing that I'm actually very small. It is a healing experience. And we're alone with our psychology to unpeel this onion of of unresolved traumas that just comes to the surface, and there's nobody around watching us so that we can just cry. You know, we just let it out. Like this is the, you know, a normal place at a lot of planting camps, you know, like, oh, you didn't cry yet? You know, like you should cry. You should really let it out, man.
And I think, honestly, it's because of like the lack of stimulation. Like you're so open to what's going on like inside that you can just like feel all these things that you normally don't have time to feel in the real world, right? Like people crying on the block. Like half the time it's not even about the planting. It's about like, you know, your dad didn't love you enough or whatever. And it just comes out when you're in this like sensory deprivation area.
I've seen grown men like burst into tears, and then petite women just crush everyone and be the most badass thing. It's like, it's such an equalizer, tree planting. It's just whatever preconception about strength and capability you think you have. It's like see people on the block, because you'll see their true nature if you see them tree planting. You have no one but your own thoughts out there, and if you're not at peace, it's going to come out on the block. So being able to sort of control, like conquer your mind, I think, is probably the hardest thing. And I think that's the, you know, being efficient and being physically fit are really important things, but being able to actually be in control of your thoughts and emotions, that's the hardest part of tree planting.
If you want to make any money, like, you can't give up, and the only thing to do is keep planting trees. And it's kind of a metaphor for life, because in life it's the same way. It doesn't matter like what you're dealing with or what you're going through, it's eventually gonna pass, and all you have to do is like put one foot in front of the other and put your shovel in the ground.
We're out there to do a job that needs to be done. When a forest is cut in Canada, trees have to be replanted, and that's part of the cost of the wood.
So what we're doing is planting trees for commercial harvest, right? Like it's been cycled through at least once when you're replanting a block, and it's not for the earth at that point. It's just for commercial consumption.
Ultimately, you're just part of the system of what like makes destroying trees possible. So it's like you're kind of a cog in the system.
Planters get jaded right away, especially like first and second year planters. We find out that these trees are just going to be cut down again. Oh man, we're not environmentalists at all. We're just another cog in the logging machine. This is bullshit. And then people get jaded, and then it's like cool to be jaded by it, so that when a non-planter can be like, good for you for planting those trees, then like the jaded third year vet is just like, yeah, but they're all gonna get cut down again. You know, trying to just be the pessimist. But you know, I've been that guy. I've been like, you know, it's all just gonna get cut down again. It's not that good, but in the end, it's like, well, it's still something to be proud of. I mean, we all get jaded about it, but in the end, we're doing the better part of the industry. I think I'm proud to be the guy that puts them back rather than the guy that cuts them down.
I remember returning to one of the blocks that we'd planted and just seeing them like sprout a little bit, and it just like hit me like, this is real, like this is happening, like we're growing something. So it's weird to think that in our path, these just giants will sprout up behind us, and oftentimes we're not gonna get the opportunity to see those develop and become the forests that are in northern BC or Alberta or wherever you're planting, but we leave a lot of really incredible growth in our wake, and I think that's something that we're certainly like incredibly proud of.
You're not learning anything. You're not growing in any way. You're just using your body, right? Definitely can't do this forever. And it could set you back, right? Just years of nothing, really. Well, originally it was to pay for university. But made it through that. Now I've just been doing it to ski. Yeah, you get nice things and afford to go on cool trips and whatnot, but I don't know. How long is that worth it?
My name is Emma Power, and I planted roughly 450,000 trees. There was like a party night that went terribly wrong for me, and I wanted to tell someone about that, and I did. It is really challenging because most of the time the people in charge are men. You complain to someone, and if you're lucky, that person's good enough to do something about it. But I personally was at a camp that had a rapist in it, and he wasn't getting fired because he planted the most trees. That is insane, and that did not make my experience planting very great. In fact, it taught me how to face really challenging situations emotionally and grow from that.
I think the fact that tree planting is an environment where people are isolated and it's majority male dominated, it can leave women really vulnerable. Boundaries can so easily get crossed, especially when there's drinking and drugs involved. You look around and you see your friends and like you think like, oh, that won't happen, but it does happen, and it's fact. It's out there, it's happening, and that's like the first step to making a change, is just like awareness.
I didn't go down this road back here. Is there any down that one? This spur road?
Yeah.
Is there some down there?
Yeah, you can cruise down there.
I just need a few more trees.
Okay.
Yeah, I started crew bossing in my 3rd season. My foreman in my 1st year, she was my foreman for the entire season. She was so motivating, she was so stoked. She was like happy but assertive and knew what she wanted, and she was my motivation. I was like, I'm gonna be like her one day. She's dope.
Hey, if you come down to our casual.
Copy.
It was my foreman in my rookie year that told me about the 3 rules of tree planting: etiquette, ethics, and empathy. When sharing land, it's considered good etiquette to leave your flagger tape in a high spot so that the person following behind can see where you've planted your trees. If you have to pass by another planter, take a moment and leave some space to empathize, and remember that they too are a competitive and overworked person who just skipped lunch. Ethics in tree planting is all about the green. Good land means money, and bad land is self-explanatory. So when you have someone that goes out of their way to plant the good parts while avoiding the bad parts, they might as well be taking money straight off your paycheck.
There's something meditative about the posture of planting and the repetition of it, and it gets you into that open-minded space. I do remember planting once where the light was coming through the canopy of the trees and making spots of light on the ground through the shade, and I just planted a tree on every spot that was light, and it was really creamy ground, so I just thought that was working in with the universe a little bit more than normal. But it's sure nice to feel like you're connected to the land rather than against it. You know, if you can get into that mindset out there where you're working with things and loose and kind of there's a bit of reverence going on, maybe almost, then you're in a good spot.
Once you like shut everything down, the pain, the torrents, the weather, and you just focus on one more tree, one more tree, one more tree, and it becomes so meditative and peaceful, and there's that point you reach where you genuinely love the act of tree planting.
I enjoy the heavy weight. I enjoy stepping over obstacles.
I like the rhythm of it. I like when my shovel just finds the spot.
So you're doing everything perfectly, and at the end of the day, you've put in 3,000 trees, 2,000 trees, something that at the beginning of the season or when you began planting seemed impossible. You know, what is being in flow state? Shutting the frontal cortex and having your whole nervous system be your brain. Your system is all in the highest state of joy and satisfaction, but your experience is completely strange. The afternoon goes by in seemingly 5 minutes, but the state of being in that place seems timeless. Well, that's flow state, and it's only in flow state that you can manage that. So we have an industry that's in the business of extreme sports at an Olympic level.
It's kind of an extreme sport where you put your body at risk
for the reward. You test yourself and see what you're capable of. It's extreme repetition. You get good at it only by doing that thing thousands and thousands and thousands of times in a day.
My name's Nick Lacko, and I've probably planted about 600,000 trees to 750,000. This would be a pretty bad day for sure. Yeah. I mean, days like this where pretty much you wake up in the rain and it just rains nonstop. I actually prefer those days to the days that are like on and off rain, because you can just get out of the truck, put your rain gear on, and you know, you're set for the day. But when the conditions are changing and 1 minute it's hot and you gotta take your jacket off and then it starts pouring, or you forget your jacket and you're like 200 trees in the back of your piece. Those are the days I like less than these ones. I don't mind these. I think I'm gonna be moving on to other things in the next year here. Yeah, I went back to school to get a real estate license, tradings license, so I'm working on that right now in the evenings and on days off, and yeah, kind of prepared a bit of an exit strategy after I think I've had enough.
It's a classic planting curse. You have lots of money in August, you spend it frivolously, and by the time April comes around, you're poor and you're just like, when's planting starting? I need money.
Many of my friends talk about this. It's easy to stay stuck because it's so fun. Then next thing you know, you're in your mid-20s and you want some more consistency in your life. You know, living out of a suitcase was great for a long time, but yeah, I'm not really into it anymore. I'm excited to grow out of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I've got so much love in my heart right now just talking about it. You know, just thinking about all the times I've loved so many people tree planting. Just my friends, romantic love. Oh my God. Yeah, it really, really lights a fire in you, you know? Sometimes really good, sometimes really bad. I can't wait to go back. Here I am talking about how I can't wait to get out of it and, you know, have some more consistency in my life, but yeah. That's how it gets you, you know, feeling like this, feeling so happy and proud, and yeah, I can't wait.
After my 6th interior year, I came to the coast.
Yeah, the coast is a totally different ball game.
I swear I've developed like some minor PTSD from the coast.
Border town sitting in a mountain view. Everyone come down from the park is true. Think I just take the truck for a drive today. And every time I pass, I'll see the waste. Every time I pass, I'll see the waste. We'll go to the lake, take the vibe we throw. Brown house on the hill with a back barn. Float around in the sun till the summer's gone. And I've been running around this town, the absolute sights when I bury the ground. And you don't know what I do to toe, but I think my mind's a chamber. And I've been sitting here on my own, talking shit about the town from which I grow. And I miss church and I miss God and I miss the place we're all alone. Sometimes the actors in the box scenes more like home than the talk from the cup sleeves. Same thing you get when you find your old boots on the floor where the kids ran. And you can sit at the table and look at dad's hands. If I could work that hard, maybe be a man. And I've been running around this town, yeah, for the sights from the bare ground. And you don't know what I do to touch, but I think my mind's a chamber. And I've been sitting here on my own, talking shit about the town from
send 4 people in to plant this in one day. Cover this area with about 400 trees each.
But it sounds like I'm going to be box dropping. You said it might be a little too foggy.
And they have to walk across this gully. They go to another central spot here where I've put trees with a helicopter. Their lunch is there and their water, and then they cover off the rest of this area straight up the hill. So they're going almost 250 meters straight uphill when they're covering these areas.
My mom tree planted while she was pregnant with me until like 6 months. She could probably tell you more about that.
There was a really bad weather day, and I was pregnant, and I was planting. And I came up to bag up again, and there were all these guys that were sitting in the truck because it was too cold to plant. They were like, oh. They kind of got out of the truck because they didn't want to be, embarrassed by this pregnant person planting when they were not.
My name's Erin Bross, and I've planted roughly 750,000 trees.
My name is Deborah Hercala, and I've planted, I'd say, approximately 750,000 trees.
I shift from living in a tent to now, like I won't sleep on the ground anymore. There's sort of this progression of tree planting that often happens, especially when you've been in the game for 6, 7, 8, and many more years than that. You eventually stop sleeping in a tent. There's not very many people I know that have been planting for as long as I have that still sleep in a tent.
I remember having a dream where I was sitting at a coffee shop in some urban city environment setting, and then I just looked in a reflection, and I was in full tree planting clothes, bags and everything, dirt all over my face. And that was I woke up from that dream thinking this has definitely changed my life, and this is kind of a new thing that I'm taking on that's going to define who I am for the next many years. I can't lie. I took it on. I was proud. I would go back to the city and I'd say, I'm a tree planter with pride. And what people took out of that, I don't know. Some of them might have been oh God, another tree planter. But I said it with I'm a tree planter. This is who I am, right? I belong to a community. I belong to a culture of people who all share a common ground. We've suffered the same things.
Even if it was in different areas of Canada, on a different block, on a completely different day, the experiences are all so similar of what you go through collectively.
You end up becoming friends with the weirdest people. And then you become proud to know those people because they're so weird. And it's made me more accepting. It's taught me that I used to be a really judgmental person, and I used to have a lot of attitudes that were wrong. And I think I've changed those attitudes just from the exposure I've gotten to the variety of people that go tree planting. My name's Josh Lichty, and I think I've planted somewhere around 1.1 million. So yes, where I'm at right now, I'm thinking if I don't start making moves now, I will be stuck in planting lifestyle. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because there's some really great people who put in 20 years, 30 years that just love this and they will never quit. I just don't know if I'm going to be happy if I keep going. And that's what I don't want to be. I don't want to be the crusty old guy that's just, I've been planting for 40 years and the tree price has stayed the same. I don't want to be that guy who just goes out there and just pounds and smoking 20 cigarettes, bitching about the land. If I keep going, I'm going to be that guy. I got to get out. I got to get out now.
Anything to say to the people?
Earthwalkers, whether you're corporeal or ethereal or ascending, or we're all in this thing together. That's it's important that you know that we're all in this thing together. So let's care for each other, because it's that shared consciousness thing is for real. That's a for real thing, and when we are in this thing together. So, boss man's coming. Yeah. Production matters. See you guys.
I'm Fiona Brinkman, and I've planted 600,000 trees.
Dave Guys, I've planted probably close to 2 million trees. And normally, like, you're dating and you're going to see the person at, periodic intervals for months and months and months, and people maybe kind of put up a bit of a facade or whatever, but, tree planting, it strips all the facades away very quickly.
Yeah, no facade out there. So. It's impossible. We got these super dorky helmets on. Sometimes there's safety glasses. We've got, like, massive high-vis vests. There's, like, almost nothing sexy about the clothes that we're wearing out there.
And the bush dumps. Don't even get me started on the bush dumps.
Actually, trying to deal with bathroom stuff in the forest is a really big problem. Yeah, there's no outhouses out there, people. There's no outhouses.
Raspberry.
Yum, yum.
Just one. Oh well.
My name is Jim Colshine, and I've planted about 2 million trees. This is basically the clear cut at the end of my street. I planted these trees about 15 years ago. Yeah, when I moved here, this was all beautiful forest, and then they logged it. Over the years of planting at a home, I come back after work and you have a few trees left in your bags, and and when you have this place that you love that was a beautiful forest, it's very satisfying to do. And some of them have already been cut down or moved or mowed away, but a lot survive. And there's pine and fir and spruce and cedars and there's a forest. And actually I thought my oldest, who's planting now, I showed him how to plant in here, like before he came out the first time. We were like, had a few bundles of trees, and so I told him about spacing and all that in here. Yeah, made this a bit of a forest again.
Best foreman on earth right there.
Mon nom est Alain Bélanger. Je suis 61 000 arbres, près de 3 millions. Probably my proudest moment was to see my 16-year-old daughter working, and then it'd be sleeting, and it was like the snow would accumulate on the ground, and it would come back and accumulate and come back. And then I had a crew of people working at the same time, and then they all came in to work in the truck. Then say, okay, well, here, I'll just drive and just gonna go and check on someone, and then we'll come back, and we stop seeing her. She's kind of smaller frame and so on, and then all these bigger guys, older guys, and just kind of, how you doing? Well, I was like, oh, I'm doing good. Say, you're cold? Say, no, I just keep on working, I stay warm. And I felt pretty proud of her at that point, yeah.
Name's Thomas Poley, and I've planted 3 million trees. Yeah, it's probably primarily a young person's game, but some of us old guys, we get addicted to it. It's a pain, love and pain. Was it love to hate the job? Something like that. I don't know. Sometimes you just love the job.
Twos and threes. These things, they come in threes, twos and threes. Phone, wallet, keys.
My name's Eric Walsh, and I've planted 7 million trees. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous, really. Like, I'm of two minds about it. Like, it seems like a life kind of wasted in one way. When you think of what else a person could have achieved, with that much effort into something, But at the same time, it's kind of like, whoa. Well, yeah, that's the sort of thing I was thinking about today. Just how the trees come out of your bag, like, one at a time. Like, you bag them up and they're so heavy. And it's just like, you're trying to plant them out, and just one at a time, it's getting like imperceptibly lighter. But then eventually, like, that's the last one, and it just weighs nothing. And then it's like, you just do that over and over again every day, and it reminds you of like these massive, like, coordinated projects like building the pyramids or some ridiculous thing, you know, where you just had countless workers just like toiling away slowly, like brick by brick, like amassing this huge number of whatever it is that you're doing, just one at a time. It just adds up over time and multiplied by people into this huge, massive thing. But like really, you're just doing it so slowly, like one at a time.
If you go out in the bush, it's really not the bush anymore. It's a patchwork of logged and growing and some little tiny bits of untouched forest, but roads and roads everywhere. And it's not the bush anymore.
While I was studying forestry, there have been parts where I'm conflicted. Why am I planting for a company that is on unceded territory and logging? I personally believe all land needs to belong to nations of those respective regions. And for a lot of people, that's a seemingly radical concept, but it has happened before in other countries. But I think we need to talk about it more, because we don't talk about it as much. Like, what is the connection to this land? What is our connection? Where's the money going?
My name's Dirk Brinkman, and I've overseen 1.4 billion trees planted, going for next year our 1.5 billionth tree. I've gone back to pine plantations that are 12-year-old plantations, and they're 98% dead from the pine beetle. We are now replanting 150 million trees that were burned by the fires in 2017, 2018. So I've been a part of a timber-centric conifer reforestation system that is planting close canopy conifer trees. Yes, we introduced mixed species microsite planting in the 70s, and I worked hard to make that the regulation, and that's how we plant. Right species to the right spot, but we're planting commercial species, which are in British Columbia are all conifers. So we're planting these closed canopy corridors, fire corridors, disease corridors, pest corridors that are not the way the forests were before contact. Before contact, the indigenous people managed with fire, and they managed these areas to create complex forests, more biodiversity. Now we have fires that are vast because we have these massive extents of closed canopy conifer forests that we've protected from fire for timber value and reforested for timber value.
It takes 100 years for a tree to grow, a couple months for corn to grow, or a head of lettuce takes 4 weeks. It takes 100 years for a tree to get anywhere near where you want to cut it. We rape this province. It makes me ill sometimes how much, and I'm no better. My ancestors are no better. They all came to this. They're all loggers. All my relatives, all my ancestors are all loggers. And to them, the only good tree is a stump. That's an old, narrow saying from way back. You find out in the Adirondack Mountains in New York, the best tree is a stump. Well, that's all you got is stumps now, man. I planted a tree in 1986. Well, it's not ready till 2038. Or you planted a tree this season. It's not ready till 2100 or whatever it's ready. We don't know in 2100 what we'll be building stuff out of. Maybe by that time, you plant 1 million trees right here in the next few years, in 100 years, those things can just stay. They can just stay there and get hit by lightning and burn on their own or whatever happens. We don't cut them. We've figured some other way to build. It's less impactive, right? So no, I think every tree we can plant and every tree that we can bring up to be a big conifer, big proud conifer, is just the best we can do.
This is a cut block. Sometimes they look like this, and other times they look like this. This is your shovel, these are your bags, and this is your life.
We are digging holes inside the earth. Yeah, we are. Eventually we'll ask, what was it worth? Oh, you get your salary me tomorrow, but work for it today. And you know that us humans won't delay. They are sewing buttons on our eyes. Impossible to see through their disguise. Oh, they only hand a fork to us once we've jumped through their hoop. And after have the nerve to serve us soup. We are turning forests into chairs, so we have a place for our derrieres. Whoa, watch our standards rising fast. That time is come at last, when we all need a place to place our ass. We are looking up from down below. Eventually we become a circus show. Well, people with cucumber eyes are taking baths of mud, so they forget that they're just bones and blood. The gardener is not the flower's boss. No, he ain't. But hearing this, he might feel at a loss. Well, if he sends his camera crew and acts like he is hurt, remember, even flowers need some dirt. So if you're digging holes inside the ground, I hope one day you'll tell me what you found. But if you're just chipping at rocks and you can't find your next meal, remember, we are friends through this ordeal. Remember, we are friends. Yeah, remember, we are friends. Yeah, remember, you've got friends in this ordeal. Hey, rock on!